Two empires, both opened their doors to the same world, but they chose to rule that world in very different ways. On one side, Rome, roads, legions, fortresses, an order built from stone. On the other side, Persia, kings, dynasties, horsemen, a flexible power, but one with deep and ancient roots. For nearly 700 years, these two states stood face to face. At Carrhae, Rome was brought to its knees. Ctesiphon fell again and again, but Persia never submitted. Why? Why couldn't Rome repeat Alexander's success? The answer is not found on the battlefield. It is hidden in maps, roads, and economics. Rome and Persia are often described as eternal enemies. But that phrase oversimplifies the truth. This was not a war of constant conquest. It was a struggle for balance. Both empires were capable of destroying the other, but the cost of doing so would have been greater than the reward. So wars were fought, but borders rarely change permanently. Today, when we look at maps, Rome's borders appear as clear lines. But in the ancient world, borders did not work that way. For the Romans, a border was not a line. It was a zone of influence. Fortresses were not built to separate empires. They existed to protect roads and trade. Along the Rhine and the Danube, Roman forts stood on both banks. In Africa and the Levant, the military line lay hundreds of kilometers away from the real frontier. In the 20th century, Edward Luttwak interpreted Rome's borders as a failure. In his view, Rome wanted to advance but could not. Today, that interpretation has largely lost its weight because the problem was not ideological, it was structural. This is where C.R. Whitaker's approach becomes essential. Rome did not expand to where it could conquer. It expanded only to where it could govern. According to Whitaker, Rome had two frontiers. The first was the inner zone. Here, armies could be supplied, taxes collected, and populations could endure the Roman rule. In the east, long and navigable rivers were absent. This created two problems. First, moving armies forward was difficult. Second, extracting economic value from conquered land was costly. For this reason, Rome preferred client kingdoms over direct occupation. Rome frequently interfered in Parthian internal politics. It appointed kings. It took hostages. Some Parthian princes were even raised in Rome. At times, Rome appeared to rule Persia indirectly, but this power never lasted. The second was the outer zone. Rome could exert influence here, but it could not sustain that influence permanently. The Persian frontier formed where these two zones overlapped. Rome's greatest strength was not its sword. It was its logistics. The Mediterranean was a Roman lake. Feeding an army by sea was far cheaper than supplying it over land. Gaul, Hispania, and Germania were supported by river systems. The eastern frontier was not. Rome leaned on the Mediterranean. The Parthians relied on the Euphrates and the Tigris. As both powers moved away from their rivers, they weakened. This is why Mesopotamia constantly changed hands, yet no one could hold it permanently. In the year 114, Emperor Trajan pushed the frontier. Roman armies took Armenia. They captured Ctesiphon. Rome reached the heart of Persia, but the conquest did not endure. The Parthian state was not centralized. It could not be destroyed by taking a single capital. Beyond the Zagros Mountains, Persia was unreachable for Rome. Ctesiphon fell, but Persia remained standing. The Parthians fell, but Persia did not. The Sasanians were more centralized, more organized. They advanced toward Rome, but they too failed to hold their gains permanently. Could Rome have conquered Persia? In theory, yes. In practice, no. Because the true victor of this war was never the sword alone. Geography, economics, human endurance, these forces defined the frontier. Rome and Persia became eternal enemies not because they failed to defeat one another, but because balance was the most rational outcome. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like. I love you all.